Okay, cool. So welcome to today's training slash conversation slash interview. So this should be a multitude of things. John reached out to me a week or two ago and was like, "Hey, we have a mutual friend in Ray Higdon. I'm on his Play to Win show. Some of you may have heard of that, and I may have a story that some people get value from. And I love that. I love people taking action. And over the years, I've heard some really cool and inspiring stories from other people in our industry. So we're going to be speaking to John today. And how are you, my friend?
I am doing great. Thank you so much for having me on.
Cool. No problem. Listen, you'll be surprised how many people they want to come on a show or they want to get an interview and they never even ask. You don't ask, you don't get. And I liked your story. I liked your background. I thought that'd be something cool people gain from. So why don't we start there? What's your background before network marketing, and then I always love to hear about what was the initial introduction to network marketing for you?
Yeah, so for the last 20 years, I've been teaching special forces in the United States on how to fight hand-to-hand combat and the integration of the hand-to-hand combat with what they do with guns.
Okay.
So we do a lot of shooting, a lot of fighting, and a lot of intermixing of the two because they're two completely different weapon systems, obviously.
Yeah.
But to be able to transition from one to the other and then back, or to know when is the proper time to holster the weapon and to go to hands, can be a really time-sensitive issue, and life-saving. And so I really got my start doing that because I was a professional MMA fighter, had 70 pro fights, and one of the military units saw that I was local and asked me to come and help them train. Mm-hmm. And that was in 1999. And then in 2000, when I moved there full time, I began to work for that unit.
Cool. Yeah. So we have a little bit of crossover in the sense that I used to compete in ground fighting. Oh. So I used to train with the MMA team. I never competed in MMA, but I trained with the team, and I used to compete in the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, submission wrestling.
So I'm a first-degree black belt in Jiu-Jitsu.
Yeah, cool. Who are you under?
I'm under Robert Drysdale.
Oh, cool. Yeah, everybody knows Robert who knows Jiu-Jitsu, right? So yeah, really cool. Yeah.
He's pretty qualified.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Sometimes you can buy a belt in some sports these days, but Jiu-Jitsu is definitely not one way you can do that.
Well, that's what attracted me. But you're not going to want to.
No, exactly. Exactly. You get found out pretty quick. I love that because I did traditional martial arts growing up. Started in Taekwondo when I was a real little kid. Karate, which was actually really good. I did a style called Kokushinkai, which, George St. Pierre, obviously a big MMA fighter, George. That's the style of karate. It's his the same tattoo. And that was knockdown. So instead of point scoring, there was no gloves. You had foam shin pads, and then you would go for the knockdown. So I liked, getting hit by bone. Something you were like, wow, that really hurts. You see in the movies, people getting hit in the face. You're like, I get that. But even someone hitting you, my instructor, he was an Iranian guy. He was like a piece of rock, and he would just hit me on the inside of the shoulders, and my arm would be useless. And I'd be like, I thought if I didn't get hit in the face or the belly, I'd be okay, but not the case. And you would hit him. I've got heavy hands, and I would hit him, and he would kind of just smile and carry on. I was like, oh, this is a rough day, rough time.
So how far are you from Michael Bisping?
Oh, yeah.
How far do you live from him?
Oh, well, I missed him. I missed him coming to a place down the road from us. It's called Sheffield. He actually came and opened a club. One of our instructors paid for him, and I was away on holiday at that time. I think when he was in Wolfslayer in Birmingham's like 90 minutes from us in the car. Okay. So it's not too far. But I was more on the jiu-jitsu side. I got into the competition side of that. And I got a British championship in jiu-jitsu. So I did okay. And then I became a father, and you just get soft. You know what I mean? Training 4 or 5 hours a day, taking trains across the country is no longer an option.
Right.
So
what rank did you get to?
Excuse me?
What rank did you get to?
I'm brown belt at the moment.
Come on, man. That's awesome.
So getting there closer. So I had an injury which took me out for about 7 years, which was a long, frustrating. I still trained, but I just couldn't do any technique and all the rest of it. But we got back on track with that about a year ago. Got my brown belt, and now obviously gone in for black. I just enjoy the process. You know what I mean? I really enjoy the process and the benefits of testing yourself. And when I was a kid, I was always really nervous about fighting competitions. So it kind of took that out of me, you know, being able to have someone do that to you. So it was interesting benefit. So there's obviously you went to a much higher and intensive level with the 70 pro fights and actually teaching special forces, but a little bit of crossover there.
Yeah, that's
How
so
did you find
cool.
that prepared you for network marketing? Like, did you find you took some lessons from that?
So what happened was, I don't know how familiar you are with what happened in America, but in 2012, we had what was called the sequester.
Mm-hmm.
And that was because the two parties were fighting, and it basically stripped the military of money.
Okay.
And I was one of the casualties of that for a very short time, but it really woke me up that I didn't have the security I thought I did.
Mm-hmm.
And and it took me a couple of years to get like everything back into sorts. And I really started to think about it at the end of 2016. And I said, and I really have to have an exit strategy. And, you know, jiu-jitsu and MMA are very similar. Outside of that community, there's not really a lot of work. It's like, where else could I go to teach people how to punch people in the face?
Yeah.
Get paid what
Legally.
I get paid. Yeah, legally, right?
Yeah.
And as I looked at the job market, it became very clear to me very quickly that I was in one of two positions, which was I was so vastly overqualified, I wasn't going to get hired at a rate that's really, you know, fair.
Sure.
Or I was so vastly qualified in this that I didn't have anything else.
Yeah.
Because it's been 20 years of my life. And a friend introduced me to network marketing, and I started looking at the people that were making money, and I was like, that's a lifestyle that I can handle. And as far as skill sets go, it's just the unstoppable mindset. Like, you know, like if you're not punching me in the face, I can do this.
Yeah.
And so I just started attacking it, just like I would training for a fight or training teams to go overseas. And I think in some regards that's been very beneficial for me. In some other ones, my intensity sometimes is a little too much for some people. You know? So I've had to learn how to dial back.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. I did the exact same thing, John. It's really cool how we never spoke before, how similar we are. When I got invited through our mutual friend Ray to speak at one of his events at Top Earner Academy, and it was the first time I'd ever spoken in front of what I'd call a large audience.
Yeah.
And he said, "Are you not nervous?" I said, "Well, no one's going to try and break my arm or punch me in the face. I can talk all day."
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I was like, the last time I was in front of this many people, someone was looking at me saying, "I'm going to put you unconscious." And you know what I mean? So all of a sudden it's like, yeah, if I miss a word or I go or too many times, it's no big deal. Do you know what I mean? Who cares? Yeah. So I did the same thing. I came into network marketing. I'm like, I'm going to be a millionaire. I'm going to do this 24 hours a day. I'm going to go to the top rank. Okay, this is going to be hard work. We're going to do it together. Who wants to come with me? And everybody was like, no. I've already got a boss. You sound like a nightmare. And I was like, why does nobody want to join? You know what I mean? This is ridiculous. So maybe you had the same thing, right? You'd come with that intensity, and it's like, not everybody is obviously, it's not what you show them, it's what they see.
Yeah.
Sometimes they see something different. And I learned the skill of getting chilled out and saying, well, let me ask some more questions as opposed to presumptions. That was very helpful. So I'm guessing you kind of tailored your approach as well. You took that energy and then gained some skills. And what was your initial results like? Did you get a fast start? I had 328 no's in a row, so it can't be any worse than that.
Yeah, I don't remember the yes versus the no's, but in my first 6 months in that company, I put in 58 personals.
Nice.
And, you know, because of my position, I had a lot of influence, so it was easy for me to really say, hey, you know, do you want to make extra money or not?
Yeah.
Let's do this thing together.
Yeah.
But I quickly found that I had to go back to the drawing board and learn how to engage people, because I found that the drive that I had was not what everybody else had.
Sure.
And so I really wanted to take a step back, and I did. I started to change my methodology. I started to, you know, and Ray's helped a lot with this, because I never heard anybody say this before. Hey, if you don't want to make money, you just want to hang out.
Yeah,
cool. Come to the fire. Let's hang out. And I hadn't really heard that before, and it was good, you know, to hear that. And so, you know, it's really helped me in my process. And there was a couple other things too. Like I thought that I was around all these like 1% A types who are really driven. I thought, man, I'm going to scoop all these guys up. We're just going to go change the world.
Yeah.
And it was so funny how you have like legitimate, like overseas killers who are intimidated by a sales process.
Yeah. We're only like comfort is usually just through repetition. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like if you take someone in an unusual situation, even if that situation is less fear evoking than what they usually do, a lot of times people will go, well, hang on a minute. And it comes down to mindset. A lot of people, nobody wants to look stupid, right? Nobody wants to make a mistake these days. It's ridiculous how many people don't even want to make a mistake. So everyone's so super sensitive to that. They don't want to go into something and then someone asks a question and go, I don't know. Like,
Yep.
so everyone seems, in our industry, everyone's so afraid of that. Like I see new people when they get started, they're like, I need to know the compensation plan inside out. I need to know every piece of knowledge that you do. I need to be able to handle this objection. Like, I'm like, why would you try and put that much distance? It's like saying, like you want to play football or soccer, right? For our American friends, right?
Yeah.
Let's say you want to play football. And you say, well, until I'm as good as Ronaldo, I ain't getting on the pitch. Okay, well, you're never going to play.
Yep.
And you're never going to find out if you could get to that level or not, because you need to, like, to learn to swim, you've got to get wet. There's no good reading 50 books on swimming until I throw you in the water and you go, oh, this is what water feels like. You ain't got a prayer.
Yep.
You know what I mean? I'll take the swimming instructor that's done a week in the pool than one that's done a year in the books. Any day, I'll take the guy that's in the water. Exactly. And this is it with network marketers. They're like, oh, you know, I don't know if I could ask that question. I don't know if I should say it, if I should do that. Well, why don't you try it? The worst that could happen is you apologize. It's not like you're being insulted or anything like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, it's better to go that way. So that's cool. You had that mentality of, I was speaking to that on a Facebook Live today in my group. I was saying, you shouldn't go for the no. You should go for the yes. That's better. But you should be accepting of the no's.
Yeah.
The same with this. You shouldn't fail your way to the top, but you should be willing to make mistakes and fail your way to the top if you have to. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Yeah.
So what are you working on right now? So obviously you're building. Is that your main project? Is that your main focus now? You build. I never even asked you. Are you full time in network marketing now, or are you working towards that?
I'm working towards that. You know, so COVID hits in March. The unit that I worked for was very gracious and continued to pay all the way up until contract renewal time.
Cool.
And then, you know, it just wasn't going to work any further because in America, the military is still not kind of full-blown training yet.
Okay.
And so it ended up getting really fortunate to have another sales job open up for me. You know, but my goal would be to be full-time, you know, as soon as possible. I really enjoy it.
Yeah, that was my first goal too. Like I was in a business that owned me. I didn't own it. Similar to yourself again, we have a lot of crossover. You know, I'd worked myself up to be a specialist in health and fitness. You know, I used to be really overweight as a kid, like really overweight. And then I lost the weight, got into sports. So I was like, I want to help other people feel this way too. So I ended up owning a gym with my wife, and I owned a gym. We trusted the wrong people, ended up in a bunch of debt, because if I shake your hand, that's the same as a contract to me. I was naive. Not everybody feels that way, right? So we're now in the situation where trajectory is supposed to be like this, and next thing it just drops off. But that's all I knew, health and fitness. So it was a very difficult position to be in. And, you know, you do what you have to make ends meet, right? And network marketing came along, 328 no's in a row. But then I changed my approach, and then I was able to go full-time 5 months after that. So from my 328th no to going full-time, which for me was about £2,000, about $2,500 US a month for me, it was, to replace my job at the time. That took 5 months. So, and then within the year of that, I was, I think around 2 months after that, I was the 5th best recruiter in that company. And then within the year, I was the 3rd best recruiter, #1 international income earner, the 4th highest performing team. And I share those numbers. If people do way better than that, but I always share them because 328 no's within 12 months, #1 international income earner. There's not really any industries like ours that can do that so quickly in your life.
Amazing.
And I hope it's inspiring for people listening, going, oh man, I've seen people been out for 20 years, you know?
Yeah.
It can happen really quick.
I had you know, my first company, man, I fell in love with, and then they stopped paying the field. And
how'd that
so
happen?
that went from August of 2017 to March of 2018.
Yeah.
And in January of 2018, I was out. I was like, man, I can't with integrity continue to sell a product when I don't know if my buddy is going to get paid. So one of my actual special forces buddy was in another company, and I was like, nope, I'm done with network marketing. I don't want nothing to do with that, man. They owe me $12,000. Screw that, you know? And he's like, it's me, come on.
And then there's that voice, isn't there? But you like network marketing, and you know it's in your blood. You're like, maybe one more go.
Yeah, and I'm a goal-driven person, and I made a goal that I was going to be successful at this, and so no fault of my own.
It's like an itch you can't reach, isn't it? You know what I mean? You're like, you got to scratch it.
Yeah, so then my second company got bought out by another company I totally didn't agree with. And I was like, okay, so I got to go find somewhere else. Because by this time I knew, I was like, man, I really like this. This is what I really want to do. And so I found a new place literally just a couple of months before I was on Play to Win. It was just crazy. So I've had to restart 3 times or start 3 times. The third time though, I did it a little bit smarter. So
you learn from experience, right? And we'll talk about Play to Win in a second. I'm really interested to hear about that. But again, it's so crazy how closely linked our journeys have been. I joined the first 2 or 3 companies really quickly because really they weren't bad people, but they were inexperienced. Looking back, I can now see 10 years on, they were inexperienced. They were willing to say anything, stretch the truth, just let's get this guy in.
Right.
It's I understand that. You never know people's situation. Who am I to judge their behavior? I can't take responsibility for that. I decided to join. That's my responsibility. But fairly quickly, I realized I wasn't in the right place. And also, I didn't understand that everywhere you go, there you are. So I'm thinking to myself, well, if I get a newer company or an older company, that will be the difference. This is why I'm getting all these no's. It's just that it's too saturated or too new. And really, it was me. It was me and my approach. So once I changed that, I was in a company with Ray. Really happy with that company. It was fantastic. We used to do silver. The company's no longer around anymore. We used to do silver assets. It was great. It was very different to what everything was out there. And what happened, unfortunately, in that company was that there was 3 owners. 2 of the owners' wives had illnesses at similar times. One of the ladies, unfortunately, got cancer. Thankfully, she touch wood, she's recovered now. Another lady went to the hospital and she didn't feel right. They were going to send her home and she had a brain aneurysm. So 2 very serious illnesses. So the owners obviously said, listen, we need to put my time, my family. We don't know how long we've got. So they took that company and it was took over. Like you mentioned, it went into another company. I was out at Top Earner Academy. I was speaking at Top Earner Academy. One of the company owners said, needed to sign this non-disclosure. Signed it. I trusted the guy. He said, we're selling the company. The company's because of all these health things. I said, fine, I trust you guys. They're great people. I'm still in contact with them now. So we went into a travel company. Now, I still loved that travel company because it was the same people around me and I really liked the people. We went into the travel company. It was phenomenal. They had something called the executive status, where if you sponsored enough people or made enough customer sales, then as opposed to they had like a point system where you could use so many points to discount the travel. So if you did it enough.
First company.
What, sorry?
That was my first company.
Was that your first company? So I was an executive. So what that meant was I could take all the points and discount the travel completely.
Yep.
So the 3 of us, my wife, my daughter and I, we traveled to some amazing places and all we paid for was the flights. Yep. Singapore, Marina Bay Sands, Disney, tickets were thrown in. It was amazing. They stopped paying the reps, right? Yep. This is what you was talking about. Same thing. So I waited and I waited and I waited. And what did it for me was we went to a couple of events and they sent someone high up from corporate who basically looked us in the eyes and said, you'll be paid next month. You'll be paid next month. Your team's going to be paid next month. It was a ripple. It's all ironed out. I'm like, listen, I understand the business. There was some trouble. I get that. I don't mind that. As long as you're honest, you'll be paid next month. Next month came and went. I've already told my team, listen, guys, don't worry. I spoke to the guy face to face. The guy said, you're going to be paid. I trust the guy. Nothing. Next month. It'll be next month. It'll be next month. 12 months on, I was like, I'm done. Yep. Not because we weren't paid. Thankfully, I understood the importance of building your own personal brand. So financially, I was one of the lucky ones. Well, not luck. I created the luck, right? I had the money coming in. but I couldn't just get over the fact that they said we're going to pay you and then not. I just couldn't move past that anymore. So that was when I was like, right, you know what? I'm going to wind this down for sure because I just can't do it anymore.
We were in the same company.
Same company. There you go. I would have stayed with that company forever.
Oh, I would have too.
I love that company. The training, like even though a lot of it was traditional, they have some of the best trainers I believe in the industry in that company. The events were crazy. I loved the team. I loved the product. It was such a crushing blow when I decided that I wasn't going to stick in that. But again, that's pushed me towards now being totally independent, not having people worry, well, if I recommend Richard to my team, was my team going to judge that? Now, because I didn't build a position anymore, I had that freedom and flexibility. So, there's always a silver lining, as it were. So let's come up to date. You're on the Play to Win show. So I have not seen any of those episodes from the most recent series. So I don't know, are you allowed to say what happens? I don't know how secretive it is or what's going on, or what can you tell us about that show?
So season 1 was last year, right?
Okay.
And if you saw season 1, season 2 is nothing like season 1.
Okay. In what way?
So I think first of all, we were there longer.
Okay.
It was a longer filming session.
Yeah.
I think Play to Win season 1 was like 3 days or 4 days, maybe. Sure. We were there for a whole week. We had 2 separate teams.
Right.
That then they brought together after each one of theirs day 1, right?
Okay.
We had on average 2 challenges a day.
Mm-hmm.
Some were sales challenges, some were dig into your personal junk challenges, overcoming fear. So there's a really great clip on the trailer of, I don't know, I think it's 12 or 14 feet long, this albino python.
Wow.
That people had to play with. So,
right.
Yeah. And it really was pretty intense.
Mm.
I mean, we're talking 12 or 15 hours a day. We were getting there at 9 a.m. and, not leaving until 8, 9 later at night. And, there was 27 contestants and I didn't know really anything about Rank Makers or Ray.
Sure.
I'd seen a couple of his free coaching Fridays, liked him, knew that he was in the previous company that, so I knew who he was.
Yeah, upline, yeah.
But I didn't really know him.
Mm.
And then I had a couple of my friends that were really close to him, and I reached out to them, and they kind of gave me the scoop, and I was like, I'm gonna be on this show.
Mm.
So I applied and got selected. It was pretty crazy.
Cool. And just for people who've never seen this before, it's like a reality TV show specifically for network marketers, right? Taking people who are already in network marketing and then getting them to get results over that. This will be a 7-day period, right? Facing their fears, going through challenges. I've seen some challenges. People got to go get like appointments, phone calls, this type of thing. So that'll be really interesting to watch and see how much of yourself you see in those other contestants. And if they have a solution, maybe you can use that solution too. So when do we find out? Is there like a winner in it, or is it like a competition?
So the first show airs next week, September 10th at 7 p.m. Eastern time.
7 p.m. Eastern, yeah. And what's the date on that, on the show airs?
What's that?
What's the date that the show airs?
September 10th.
September 10th, 7 p.m. Eastern. And is that on Ray? I'm guessing that's on Ray's.
It'll be on Ray's page.
Okay, cool.
Yep.
So I'll leave links to all of these beneath here. I'll put the time and the date and Ray's page underneath here to make sure anybody who wants to watch that show can watch that show, because it sounds like a really cool, like it's something for us. Like I don't really watch reality TV show because I'm not interested in the premise of it.
Right.
But I am interested in network marketing and seeing how people can overcome challenges. I'm not interested when they're like, celebrities dance on gravel with ice or whatever. I don't care if you can skate or not. I have no interest.
You're right.
If I like your record, I'll buy it. If I don't, ice skating won't work for me. Whether I really don't care. But if it's like network marketing and people overcoming challenges and facing fears, that stuff, I think that'd be a really good use of someone's personal development time. So
yeah, I mean, there was definitely a lot of personal development on that show, and I don't know, because I don't know exactly how many episodes there are going to be. I think there's like 5, and the last one has like a couple of parts to it.
Sure.
So I don't know how much they're going to show of everybody, but out of the 27 people that were on the show, there's somebody's story that you're going to resonate with.
Yeah.
And it was so interesting, the assortment of personalities on the show to me. Became very good friends with multiple of them. Paul Bond, who's actually from England, became my right-hand man on the show. I mean, I just absolutely love that guy. And, you know, there were some really strong relationships formed on the show. And like, I'll tell you, Ray and Jess, you know, it's apparent that they care, but they were not going to let you get away with just some BS excuse. And so there were several times on the show where people were being called on the carpet for whatever. And, you know.
I'll tell you a quick story. Because actually it was an event that Ray was at that really turned things around in my career mentally for me. So back when I first was sponsored by Ray and Jess, I reached out to them. I was the easiest recruit ever. I watched a couple of videos of them, like, will you help me? He's like, yep. This is coaching. I'm like, I can't afford that. I was 50 grand in debt at the time. He's like, well, we do have a network marketing team. So if you're open, I was like, yep, I'll join that. So that was as easy as it was over Facebook. And then Ray calls me and he's like, we have an event in Dallas in a couple of months. I'm like, Ray, I'm 50 grand in debt. Like, come on. Do you know how much it takes to get from England to Dallas? And then I got to get a hotel. I got to eat food. He's like, well, I don't get anything if you come, but it sounds to me like you can't afford not to come. I was like, damn it, Ray. You're always saying this, you know what I mean? So I put the fan, I'm like, you know, it's eating away at me. I'm at night, you know, it's like the movies where they got the speech bubble, you know, the cloud and Ray's like, you can't afford not to come. And I'm like, So I'm like, I'm 50 grand in debt, 50, 51. What's the difference? You know what I mean? So I'm like, last bit of my credit card. I'm really nervous doing this. I'm making no real money at the time. And I'm like, oh man, but I can deal with not being good enough. I can't deal with not knowing. Like there's plenty of things I'm terrible at, right? But this is not something I want to be terrible. I don't want to leave this unfinished. So if I give it my all, if I go to this event, I max out my credit card, okay, I'll know I gave it everything that I got. And I'm not saying people should do that with their finances. I'm just saying that was my mentality. So I got the credit card, 3 flights to get there because that was the cheapest route. I arrive and it was actually a specific event for the company. It wasn't like big or fancy, anything like that. It was just a bunch of us sat around a table. So I'm there and it's the first time I think I'd met Ray. And he gets up and he tells his story about like his upbringing that later came out years later about the problems he had as a child. He's talking about that. He was talking about his marriage with Jessica, which he recently just spoke about the problems they were having. So this was at that time. So he's speaking about all this and he's in floods of tears. And I'm like, man, there's certain things you can fake, but this isn't one of them. Do you know what I mean? And I'm like, this is a genuine, even I don't know the rest of these people in this room, but there's a genuine guy here. There's a genuine person here who's actually, like you say, gives a damn. He's sharing something painful for him. He's making a bunch of money at the time. He doesn't have to be here. He doesn't have to talk about this. He doesn't get paid if I come. And he's really trying to make an impact. And then from around that table, that really hit me. I was like, you know, holding back the tears. It was really draining emotionally to see that. And then we got into an elevator. And I think a couple of the company owners, Ray and a couple of other people who were big on YouTube at the time, were in this elevator. And I'm in there feeling like a complete imposter. I'd signed up quite a few people at that point, but I still wasn't at the point where I was making decent money. So I got in this elevator because I'd got the 5th recruiter spot or something in this competition. And I'm looking around, I'm like, that's a company owner. That's a company owner. That's Ray. This other guy's a best-selling author, gives me a copy of his book. I'm like, I'm in the wrong elevator here. I don't even know what I'm doing here. And the elevator goes to the top floor. It's a penthouse. And the doors open, and it's the first time I'd ever seen a penthouse. There's a bar, there's pool tables, there's a living room, there's separate bedrooms. I'm like, I don't believe this. And one of the owners leans into me, and he said, you're 3 people a week and 1 year from this. And then walked out the elevator. And I'm like, wow. I'm looking around. I'm like, is that it? 3 people a week for a year or 2, and this is my life. And I was like, I'm going to do it quicker. So I did, and that was, I changed my approach. I got serious about branding, about target marketing, about building a system, and all. I got serious about all that stuff. But the actual motivation to pursue those changes came from that event, and I had a death in the family at the same time, which all was coming together. And that's what really pushed me to say, you know what, Richard, if you're going to do it, let's figure it out properly. So I just thought I don't really share that story that often. I thought it'd be really cool. You mentioned about someone caring, the difference it can make. Man, that changed my life. Seeing that genuineness changed my life.
Well, you know, on the show, as people, and I even told him this when I interviewed him the other day on the show. So I've been a coach for 20 years. I've coached the most elite people on the planet for 20 years. And so when I walked into the show, I kind of took a step back because what I wanted to do was to see who he was,
sure,
who the contestants were, and to kind of evaluate what I was going to do.
It's a military background, right? You see the lay of the land. You don't face an opponent you don't know, right?
Yeah, and it's so funny because I got completely destroyed over that approach.
Like, you can't help your nature, though, can you? You know what I mean?
Yeah, and then there was some stuff behind it, like I didn't get an email, so like I didn't have the information. Everybody else had already met and gone out for drinks.
Okay.
And when we got there in the morning, they all knew each other and they were all talking, forming teams, making relationships. And I was like, whew, I'm behind. I need to see who the power players are and understand the dynamics of this group. And, you know, and as contestants were getting eliminated from the show, I literally watched him continue to invest in them when it no longer benefited him.
Sure.
You know, of course, the show is about branding. It's about, you know, getting the Higdon group out there. And I'm all about that stuff. Like, you know, but by that point, the cameras weren't, I don't even know if the cameras were filming him, investing in them. There was no benefit to it. And as a coach, I kind of look back and I go, man, this guy believes what he says because he's still investing when he doesn't have to. And that really kind of, I've been in Rank Makers for about 60 days at this point, maybe a little bit longer. And when I came away from the show, it's like, I'm going to dive in. I'm going to figure this out. I'm going to, because the culture and the things that I saw on the show, it's like, man, if this is how this guy is all the time, that's the kind of guy I want to be attached to.
Yeah, definitely. People follow people, right? You know, they quit things all the time. They very rarely quit people. And I think sometimes, I don't know if it was Les Brown or Jim Brown, I know it was someone said, sometimes you have to believe in the belief someone else has in you before your own belief kicks in.
Yep.
I think also sometimes you have to have belief in someone else who's doing something that you are before your own belief in that kicks in. You know what I mean? Like I needed to see that network marketing was very strange and peculiar to me. It felt back then. It was new. It was different. It's like a new pair of shoes, right? You want to like them, but you're not sure if you do yet. So I needed to see someone else. I wanted to see someone else wearing those trainers.
Right.
And these are comfortable and you can run fast. And someone who wasn't just lying to make me buy the trainer. And it's the same. That's what I got from that. And often we overlook that. You know, yes, tactical information, strategies, systems, very important in the modern era, for sure. We have less and less time to do things in. We have to make it count. But on the back end of that, it doesn't matter what anybody teaches you if you don't have the real will or drive to apply, if you don't have the belief in it. And this is the problem a lot of network marketers face, because they've never actually sought out the correct education or the correct people, whether that's inside or outside their company. They're hanging all their hopes on their own belief, which is hanging on by a shred, because of the situation they're usually in, coming from either debt or financial problems or no's negativity around them. It's very difficult to make this journey yourself. You have to walk it yourself, but it's nice to know there's some people at the back. Do you know what I mean? You don't go over the hill by yourself.
Yeah, the mindset has to be, in my opinion, and I've not made the money you or Ray has made, but mindset, in my opinion, has to be the number one skill set to develop as a network marketer. I don't care if you tell me no. You're not punching me in the face. You're not shooting at me. Like, and the guys I work for, you know, are literally going through some of the most hellacious situations and that you could ever even think about. And so it's all about mindset in order to get that stuff accomplished. And on the show, it really became apparent who had strong mindset and who didn't. And you know, and it's something that you can develop. You don't have to.
It's like a muscle. Yeah, it is.
Born with it. You can really become unstoppable in your own mind. And I think it would really shift, you know, people's perceptions, not only of themselves, but of what they could accomplish if they just put their mind to it.
Yeah, that's really Smart words. You know, the number one quality I think people need to succeed in life, or skill set, whatever you want to call it. People ask me all the time, what's the number one thing? I say it's bravery. It's bravery, because there's no guarantees in life other than death. Not a one. So when someone's like, I want to guarantee I'm going to get a lead, I want to guarantee I'm going to sign this many people up, I want to guarantee I'm not going to look stupid, I want to guarantee they're not going to be offensive to me. Listen, all those things are going to happen. You're going to constantly in life. There is no period in anybody's life where it's smooth waters. Never. No matter how much money you have or don't have, people are going to get ill who you care about, maybe even yourself. There's going to be people that say things that surprise you. There's going to be situations you can't control. And that's going to happen. I can guarantee that will happen. But the thing is, you're going to have to look at yourself and say, well, how do I respond to this? How do I react to this? Does it say something about me? And am I brave enough to accept what that says and then move on from that and try and improve? You know, it's so much easier to poke holes. We were speaking just before we hit record, right, about people who are normally critical. If you're an overly critical person, that usually means you're a very insecure person.
Yeah.
This is why I don't get angry at people anymore. I get all sorts of weird. I should do like YouTube or Facebook ad comments. It'd be a comedy roll. Some of the horrible, disgusting things that people say just because you have an ad or a video out there. But I've learned to know that it's got nothing to do with me. They've never met me. They don't know me. I don't even read them. It's simply just someone venting something that you highlighted in themselves that they either dislike or they lack. They wish they'd shot a video. They wish they'd created an ad. They wish they'd followed through. So instead of admitting that, okay, I was the one that let myself down, that's a bitter pill to swallow. It's far easier to say, well, that's a bad person or that's wrong. I can, you know, kind of wipe it away with a magic wand and do that. And it's a shame if more people would, like you said, altered their own perception, had some more bravery, and actually focused on their own happiness. I think we'd stop a whole bunch of wars over the years if we could actually get people to be less insecure, happy to disagree, and not require approval or to bend other people to their agreement. It would be such a healthier place.
I don't know what it's like in England as far as this goes. I've only been once. I want to go back, but there's become just this culture of that you have to agree with me. You don't.
Or you have to be right. You know.
Yeah, like, and if you don't agree with me, there's the automatic, you're a racist, you're a bigot.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm like, okay, I get it, but intellectual discourse means here's my opinion.
Yeah.
Here's my dissent.
Yeah.
I don't agree with you, and here's why.
Yeah.
And then at the end of the day, unless you're talking about like killing kids or something,
yeah.
your hand, and I'm gonna be like, hey, that's you, no problem.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, it's weird. I think social media is a lot to blame for that. It's like anything in life. There's always positives and negatives, and it's great that the world has opened up. We wouldn't be having this conversation without social media. That's a beautiful part of it. Meeting new people, engaging with new people. But unfortunately, it's quite distressing to me. And I don't use social media outside of business now. It's not on my phone. I don't have anything like that, because what I find is I'm quite a emotional person. And when I see people who are unhappy or distressed or they're in pain, I want to kind of fix that and help that. And it's so distressing for me when if I go on social media just to consume, to see how many people are just putting their focus in the wrong areas. Like, why would you take an hour away from spending it with your child at the park to argue with a stranger on social media or pursue likes or comments from random people about something that at the end of the day is still only an opinion and fact is only perception? Even if I can get 1 million people to agree with me and no one to agree with you, history is full of people, masses of people following the wrong people, making decisions they regret. It doesn't mean anything. At the end of the day, are you happy? Is the world a better or worse place for you? We get 70 years, give or take a little bit. It's like that. For me, like, what are you going to do with that? What are you going to bring to the table? I just don't understand why someone would take their life, argue with people. I mean, at the end of the day, I really have no interest in someone's approval or agreement outside of two people in my life. Outside of my wife and my daughter, I hope that people like what I do. I don't set out ever to offend. I try and help as much as I can. I got thousands of pieces of free content out there. But if someone doesn't like it or disagrees, I have no need to try and change that person's mindset because I can't be responsible for their reaction. It's just a shame so many people nowadays are so frightened to say things that someone will disagree with, or they feel the need that, oh, I got 50 likes, so I'm a good person. Are you happy? Are you healthy? Did you do something useful today? Do you know what I mean?
Mike Tyson says social media is evidence that people say things that they would never say in person because they're not afraid of getting punched in the mouth.
Exactly that. Yeah, exactly that. And the amount of people like, do you not like, if I ever get a negative comment, I sometimes do it myself. So I have an assistant. I said, if it's not positive and I don't mind if someone disagrees. I'm happy. Someone disagrees, fine. Let's talk about that if you wish to. But my schedule's really busy. My life is busy. I'd rather spend time talking to you, talking to other people, putting my value out there, spending time with my wife and my daughter, traveling. There's a whole list of things. Like, it's like once there was a quick story. There was an occasion where we both pulled in a car park. We'd both tried to pull into the same parking space. So I'd happened to pull into the parking space. The other guy thought it was his parking space. I honestly had no idea who was indicating first. I thought it was me. He thought it was him. So he starts getting out the car, shouting at the car, "What are you gonna get out?" And I'm like, "No, I'm not getting out." And he's like, "Why not?" I mean, I was the British ground fighting champion at the time, so the odds favoured me. You don't know. A guy could have had a knife or anything. It wasn't about that. And I said to my girlfriend, who's now my wife, she said, "Oh, did you not want to get out there? You're saying some horrible things." I said, "No." I said, we've just pulled into the cinema car park, right? The trajectory for the rest of my evening is to go and watch a film with you, have a nice time, maybe get some food, and then go home and discuss how nice of an evening we had. Once I step out this car, 1 foot outside this car, either I'm going to win a fight and go to jail, or I'm going to lose a fight and go to hospital. Like, neither of those outcomes is anywhere near as pleasant as the trajectory we're on right now. Why would I? And yet people are like, I'd get out the car. Why do you care about, like, there's plenty of people, there's millions of people out there who can kick my backside. There's millions of people out there whose backside I can kick. What does one up or down the ladder difference does it make?
None.
I just don't get this mentality with people these days of their investment of the time and effort and energy in this artificial, or, hey, I roasted this guy, or this is me on video beating up. So I'm like, okay, cool. That's such a waste of life. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. It goes back to what you said. It's definitely low self-esteem.
Yeah. I mean, and that's the beauty of our industry, right? We're able to help. That's why I'm so passionate. We're able to build people up, regardless of the results they get specific to the business. That's life-changing. But the big payoff is the version of yourself that you become. And I'm sure, like, if bringing it back to the show, if people watch that show and they see something in somebody's story, or it inspires them, like the event in Dallas did to me, your story, your background is an unusual one in the sense you don't often hear that background in our industry. Hopefully something in this time we've spent together can switch a light bulb onto somebody and take a step in the right direction. So where can people get a hold of you, John? So, we've discussed a lot, loads of subjects. I'm sure people want to reach out to you. Where's the best place?
Yeah, they can do, I'm on all the social media platforms. So it's just John Renken on Facebook, or you can just go straight to my website, johnrenken.com.
Okay.
Either one of those are good, but like I said, I've got all of them, and all of them get to me just about the same way. So
cool. So what I'll do is I'll put the Play to Win details underneath, and I'll also put John's details underneath here as well. So if you're on YouTube, it'll be in the description area. If you're on the podcast, it'll be in the text area. I'll leave the show information we've been discussing, Play to Win Season 2. I'm interested to see that new format. You can see how John does in the show as well. It'll be interesting to see how John does. I'm not like a Piers Morgan by any stretch. So I'm not going to ask you who won. I'm not going to do that to you. I'd like the people should find out the right way and be ethical. So yeah. It's been great having you on. What would you like to end with? Is there one piece of advice you'd give to network marketers listening or watching this and thinking, man, I wish there's just something above all of this I could take away? What advice would you give for them to keep going and get a better result?
Fortune favors the bold.
Good words. Nice, short, to the point, and makes sense.
All right, guys, we're in this industry because we don't want somebody else to control our lives. That means that you have to take the steps necessary to provide that life. So fortune favors the bold. Take the risk, take the action, do it, and it will change you.
Absolutely. You regret the shots you don't take, as they say. So I totally agree with that. Great advice, John. So it's been really cool speaking to you. I really enjoyed, having a conversation, hearing about the crossover, getting to know you better. And listen, reach out to John, watch that show, watch Play to Win, and anything we can do to help you, just let us know. It's been fantastic meeting you and having you on, buddy.
Yeah, thank you. Let's stay in touch, because I had no clue that we had so many similarities, and that you're a brown belt and all that good stuff. That's amazing.
Yeah, cool. Thank you. Yeah, your story is really inspiring, and the skill sets that you've done, the lives you must have saved with your training, and that it's been great. I'm proud to meet you, and yeah, we'll definitely keep in touch.
Thanks a lot.